Welcome back to Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Hema Ramston, and this is The Morning Brew. Thanks for staying with us. We have a really packed morning this morning. And joining us on site, we have Martin George. He's the director of the Crime Stoppers Board of Trinidad and Tobago, anonymous reporting in the digital age, Crime Stoppers International. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning to you, Hema, and good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. It's indeed a pleasure to be here.
Crime Stoppers and the role of Crime Stoppers, its objective, its mandate. For the benefit of our viewers, you know, a lot of people just think it's a hotline.
Well, it's way more than that. What we try to do, we try to be an interface between the public who may have information that they want to give to the police and the police who would investigate the matter. So, in other words, you may be afraid to go into the police station, you may be afraid to call because you think that, look, either your information is going to be compromised or your identity will be compromised. So we've set up a secure, anonymous system whereby you can call our number, there's no callback, there's no call trace, there's nothing at all, no call ID, nothing at all. So therefore, you remain completely anonymous, and you also stand the chance of earning a reward for your information if it proves to be useful. Even the collection of the reward is an anonymous system whereby we just issue you a number. You go to any Scotiabank branch and you ask for the operations manager. You simply give them that number. They will know exactly what it is about. They pay you your cash. That's it. You don't need to show any ID or anything of the sort.
How many crimes have actually, how many reports have you had? How many persons have actually participated in exercising the Crime Stoppers option? And in terms of a big obvious question, leading to conviction and arrest.
Right, okay. So over the years, we've had a total of 577,399 calls. We've had 19,233 tips, right? We've had online web tips, 514. We've cleared 8,758 cases in Trinidad and Tobago. We've seen 1,539 persons arrested and charged in Trinidad and Tobago. We've been able to recover stolen property to the tune of $18,208,654. We've been able to recover narcotics to the tune of $294 million in narcotics recovered. We've recovered 242 firearms and marijuana trees destroyed. It's almost 200,000. And we've recovered over 3,000 rounds of ammunition. So the program has been quite successful. It's been working very effectively. It's just that we need to get the public to keep calling, to keep giving us the information. And we want the public to always understand that we are separate and distinct from the police. We are not an arm of the police service. We are not a branch of the police service. We have absolutely no connection with the police service, except that we receive the information from the public. We pass it on to the police investigators.
Now, you talk about the convictions and detection rate. How much more can Crime Stoppers really do? If you look at the success rates of the actual conviction, because people would like to know when I give my report that it is going to lead to an arrest and it is going to lead to a jail sentence or a sentence.
Right. Well, the thing is, we are at the front end of things. We basically serve as a facilitator to gather the information to pass it on to the police in terms of how the police act on it and how they process that information and really investigate it. That is within the preserve of the police service. So in other words, we are doing what we can. We really do not have any control to direct officers as to which investigations to give priority. However, we can follow up with them to ask about the status of the investigation, because callers do call back and ask, well, what has happened since then? So therefore, we do give that type of feedback. But in terms of the speed or efficiency with which the police service may manage the investigation, that, of course, remains the preserve of the Commissioner of Police.
Are you normally satisfied with the responses you get from the police?
Well, the thing is, Hema, if we are satisfied, that means we are at a standstill. So we can never be satisfied. We can always hope for room for improvement. There's continuous dialogue that we do maintain with the Commissioner of Police and the Minister of National Security. So therefore, we will point out to them areas that we think that they can improve. And of course, we'll make our suggestions and recommendations, because we can never sit back on our laurels and say, well, we're satisfied. We always want to do more, because we are a private sector group who has decided to play our role in the fight against crime.
Now, you talk about a private sector group, the funding and the finances for your organization, where does it come from?
Right, we do get government assistance. We do some of our own fundraising. So it's a public-private partnership in that sense. So therefore, we do get that assistance, and we always certainly give credit to the government for playing their role. But of course, we are managed in that regard by the Ministry of National Security in terms of our accountability for the expenditure.
Now, also, we're having a conference, Crime Stoppers International
Yes.
Conference. Let's talk a little bit about that. What's happening at the conference?
All right, the conference is from, well, Sunday's the registration, and then the conference itself runs Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week coming, all right? So it's from the 2nd of October to the 5th of October. All right, now, it's a very exciting conference, Heyman. Let me tell you, one of the main things that is going to really spark the imagination of people would be the areas where we deal with the counterfeiting of items. And I'll tell you, Hema, last year we had the conference in Toronto, and it was the most mind-blowing presentation when they explained to you just how many things are counterfeited. Normal, everyday products that you would never think of. You're talking about like toothpaste, you're talking Pampers, you're talking milk, you're talking canned corn. The counterfeiting is the largest crime in the world. And it was just so mind-boggling. So we have persons from Procter & Gamble. You know, they make a wide range of products. Yes. They will be coming. Persons from Philip Morris, the tobacco companies, because counterfeiting of tobacco products is a big criminal enterprise out there. We have persons from British American Tobacco who will be coming. So therefore, we have lots of industry leaders. KPMG will be sending a representative. We have somebody from LinkedIn Australia who's also going to be dealing with the social media aspect of how that can be used in the fight against crime. So that's one aspect. That's the counterfeiting and, you know, the manufacture of products falsely, you know. But there's also the aspect where we deal with international, you know, things. So we have the UN, we have the UN involved, we have UNICEF, so we're dealing with the issue of crimes against children, how you protect children against those things, how you use technology to find the perpetrators and to lead to conviction and arrest and convictions. So therefore, we take an international perspective because, you know, human trafficking crosses borders. So therefore, we have persons who will be speaking on that also.
I see that you also have anonymous reporting in the digital age.
Yes, right. Okay, so therefore, that comes into the question of the web tips, whereby we do have on our local website, we have the area where you can give tips by web online, and we also want to encourage the dissemination of information. Now think of a simple idea, like for instance, if a crime occurs and we are able to send out messages either by WhatsApp or text messages to persons within the Port of Spain area to say, well, look, a grey Nissan Tida was just stolen. A wet man, as it is referred to, was just stolen, you know, registration number, you know, and you send that out immediately. Now, that is how we are able to use technology effectively. So all these things we will be exploring at the conference in terms of trying to harness the potential and ability of our state resources to be merged together in the fight against crime.
Why did you identify this as the most pressing need to address in the conference?
Well, the thing is, we saw it because the thing is, Hema, I'll tell you, it's important for persons to understand that we in Trinidad and Tobago are making use of the technology. The thing is, you can't ignore it, you can't fight it, you can't, you know, get rid of it. So you might as well make use of it. The criminals are making use of it. So therefore, we now have to ensure that all the persons in the Ministry of National Security, all the arms of law enforcement are also on board in that fight.
Now, also, you're having this event. A lot of times we have amazing conferences. A lot of people wonder if it's just a talk shop. How are you going to influence policy at the end of this?
Well, we are hoping that the persons who come from the Ministry of National Security will be able to take away substantive and sustainable learning tools and strategies and mechanisms, because our panel is very, very international. We have persons from the Toronto Police Service who will be coming. We have persons from Australia. We have persons from London who will be coming. So therefore, the sharing and exchange of ideas and information, Hema, is how we learn, how we grow, how we develop. What you do with that knowledge, of course, is up to you at the end of the day. But as facilitators of the conference, once we have created that platform and that avenue for learning, we would have done our job.
Now, also in terms of assessing the success, what are the KPIs that you've identified, those success indicators or the indicators to determine the success of this conference?
Well, certainly we would want a broad-based attendance. So therefore, we want business persons who are interested, like for instance, manufacturers and distributors. They would definitely be interested in the counterfeiting aspect of things, right? We'd want persons who are into the technology, who would therefore be able to give us ideas, who would be able to even see business opportunities for themselves in terms of how they can participate in the fight against crime. We'd certainly want, persons in the wider society, maybe even like some of the schools to send their representatives. Definitely the stakeholders in the Ministry of National Security and governmental agencies will be having an address by the Attorney General. So therefore the government does have a role and an interest in the matter. The police service, of course, we'd want to see their participation. In fact, the substantive acting commissioner of police is going to be addressing it, Mr. Stephen Williams, right? He is one of our speakers there. So therefore we'd want to see that not only there's a broad-based participation, but the level of interest and involvement is heightened so that people go away with new ideas and, I guess, new energy and zeal in the fight against crime.
As we wrap this aspect of the interview, Martin, in terms of date, time, details, how can you get more information on the conference?
All right. So the conference is scheduled to run from the 2nd to the 5th. All right. The 2nd, as I said, is the registration. That's Sunday. And then the actual conference days are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week of October. All right. It's at the Trinidad Hilton. All right. So therefore, we still do have room for registration. So therefore, we can be contacted. Information can be had if, people are interested in attending. There are spaces, and we will certainly want to make that available. All right, our director is, our general manager is Garland Samuel. Right, he can be available, and he can make all arrangements for persons who are still wishing to attend. Now, we do have international delegates who have already registered, and they will start arriving over the weekend, and they will be here for it. So therefore, we hope that the interactions and the exchange of ideas and information is going to benefit us all.
Now, before we end today's show, Man, I do want to ask you, budget's coming up in your role, not as a member of the Police Service Commission, as well as an attorney at law. What are you expecting as it relates to crime-fighting initiatives? One of the issues identified in the last budget is that the minister was hoping to simplify the process to appoint a new police commissioner. That has not happened. That's being challenged in the courts as well. What do you really expect to hear from the minister?
Well, in terms of that process, it appears that the more we simplify the process, the more complex it becomes, because you realize that by the legal notices 218 and 219 of 2015, which the government brought, the process was supposed to be simplified, but then, of course, you had the legal challenge in the courts, and as a result of the ruling of the judge, it has now, created a scenario where you have to do some retooling of the process in terms of moving forward. However, at this stage, we are at a position where the advertisements will soon be coming out, inviting firms to put in their bids and, to submit their we would be sending out our request for proposals, and we'd be inviting them to submit their bids for, doing the selection process. I would think, in terms of the budget generally, we ought to see not just a focus on spending in terms of crime and national security, because I think what we've had in the past is successive governments basically thinking that you can throw money at the problem. It's never just as simple as that. There has to be a greater level of accountability in terms of value for money, in terms of how you spend the money, in terms of what programs and projects you invest in. And sometimes, Hema, it requires taking a long-term approach, which no government has been willing to do to bite the bullet, because the point is you may not be around to reap the benefit of it and claim the victory. And our politicians always think in terms of a 5-year cycle, so they never think or plan beyond that. But if you are able to start the investment in the long-term strategies, you have to start at the younger ages, you have to start in the schools, you have to start putting in programs whereby children can be stimulated otherwise, even after school, so that it's not just a Pokemon Go that they're on, after hours, So therefore,